Hello. Excuse me. Oh, I just ate some really spicy food. Ooh, my mouth is burning, and I've had a couple of beers. Oh, oh, mama. Okay. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, I was going to talk about a couple of things. First topic is going to be authenticity, because some people have said I'm authentic, which I appreciate. Um, and I try to be. Um, and I think there's a beauty in authenticity and a relief. Um, it's just very simply that feeling of putting all your cards on the table, you know, and there's a real relief that can come from that. And I first noticed that dramatically when I wrote my book. It's called The Hierophant or The Way of the Fool. Hasn't sold a lot of copies. I always I always plug it a little bit, but it's on Kindle. There's a paperback coming. It is good. I'm not putting down my own work. I generally think it's a good book, and I wrote it in lockdown, and I'd been listening to a lot of radical non-duality. By the way, if there's anyone radical non-dual types watching this, they will dismiss all of this as a story. So I would just preface this video by saying I'm not a radical non-dual type. I tell a lot of stories. I'm an actor for one thing, and also I just don't get the whole non-dual thing. The only connection I have with radical non-duality is that I listened to it and there was an openness, an energetic openness, and a resonance, and there still is. Um, but do I understand what the hell it's about? No, I've no clue. So I still feel like the past and the future are real. I'm on a timeline. I'm moving on it. and, all that's just fine. It's fine. I'm an ego. Whatever you want, I'm an ego. Um, so I wrote this book, and and it and I divulged. I wrote it at a time in my life. It was lockdown. I was just about to turn 40, which I am now, and I didn't feel like I'd achieved anything in my life. I was kind of like I'd done a lot of cool stuff. I met some great people. I traveled the world in a very bohemian way in theatre companies, living out of a backpack, and I'd enjoyed myself, but I'd achieved nothing, and I was coming to the conclusion that my life wasn't going anywhere, and I was starting to feel like I don't think I can change. I don't think I've got what it takes to be whatever society expects of me, whatever I might expect of me, whatever parents or family might wish for me. I was getting to the point where like I don't think I have it in me. I don't think I can be that guy. Whatever that was, career wise failure, relationship wise failure. I had nothing, no car, no girlfriend, no prospects. The kind of jobs I was getting was a little theatre type stuff, pretty low pay. And you get to a point where I wouldn't call it a midlife crisis. There was never a moment where I felt like I was in crisis, but it was sort of getting to that middle age thing where I'm like, I'm not only have I not achieved anything really, but I don't think I will. I think I'm a failure. Basically, it was sort of that kind of vibe, and I wrote this book, and I was getting ill a lot at the time. I had recurring tonsillitis, which I haven't had since Kundalini really, so it seems to have healed a lot of it. Touch wood. Um, but I was getting ill a lot. And when you're getting ill a lot and you don't feel like you're going anywhere in your life, I guess there was a sense of giving up, a sense that. So when I wrote this book, it was almost. It sounds dramatic, but it was almost like it felt almost as if I was on my deathbed, and this is what I wanted to leave behind, like because, and obviously I wasn't on my deathbed, and I didn't have cancer, but I felt like that. I felt like I was giving up, like I was like I'm kind of done with this life, whatever that means. I'm kind of done. I guess with seeking is what was happening, but I was just like I'm nearing the finish line now, like in the terms of trying to be something. I'm nearing the finish line, and this was my farewell. This is my kind of like this is what I think. This is what I think about life, about what it is or what it could be or how it feels here, and it has a lot of that non-duality stuff in it, in a poetic way, not in an aggressive there is no you kind of way. Just it was inspired a little bit by that, and there's a lot of me in there, and it was very personal, I guess, because I just started to not care about how I was being perceived. There was this sense of giving up, so it's a very personal novel. And of course, I wrote it, and then I had to give it to my family. I had to have to, but I was like, that was a big thing for me. It's like because they didn't really know me and my deepest thoughts and feelings and desires, and I was very honest in it, and that was a huge moment, having my mum and my family read this really personal thing. And even when I sent it off, there was already a kind of relief, not knowing how they would react, or if they would go, "Oh, that's vile," or "You're twisted," or "You're weird," or "You're mental," or whatever. Or I just didn't know how they'd feel. But even just sending it off, and just revealing yourself in that honest way, there was a relief to that because you've been holding on to everything so long, um, which I think is something that we do. So it can be really freeing just to have that, just to put your cards on the table, almost like admitting, for example, that you have a small penis or something like that. I'm not saying I have a small penis. It's perfectly ordinary, probably, but it's that kind of thing that you don't want to say, and that you're kind of like, well, I don't want to reveal that about myself, but there is a beauty and a freedom in just going, hey guys, my dick is small, like there's a like, and a lot of stand-up comedians are like that, if you listen to podcasts, the likes of Joe Rogan and all these stand-up friends that they have, something that they all have in common that I feel like I share with them on some level is that comedian type quality, that trickster energy, that kind of like let's all rip on each other, because it feels good to have someone kind of dismantle your ego a little bit, and there's a love in there somewhere, that is beyond, that breaks down if anyone starts to get a little bit too low, it can kind of cut through that. Um, so so that's my response to that. So anyone, that to me that is authenticity. Is just this very very simple. It's just telling it like it is, and it's just being like, well, if you're confused, you're confused. It's just very simple. It usually comes down to saying you don't know. You don't know what the solution is, what the answer is. You don't, I mean, or you do know, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that's what people mean when they say authenticity. It's just a penchant for truth, a willingness to look at the facts rather than try and present yourself in a certain type of way. Um, so that's what I would like to say on authenticity. And the other thing I would like to say is that I don't understand radical non-duality, and I find myself in a very unusual place, space, position, whereby my body, or the body, seems to be in a state of acceptance, surrender. to life. And I think that that's just the way it feels, and it's even the way my breath has changed and my breathing has changed. There is like it's like my body is in a state of surrender, and all this tension just coming off more and more rapidly and dramatically, and just kind of like spiraling out of these layers and layers of tension, just raw spiraling. And I don't think that would happen if the body was not in a state of surrender. If the body was in a state rather of tension and tightness and constriction and non-surrender, then I don't think that would be able to happen. So I'm like, okay, well that's good, that's freeing. But the mind remains completely confused, and I find that very, very interesting. All these speakers that I listen to, there may be an energetic resonance going on, but hell, man, I have no clue. When it comes to things like this is everything and nothing, or people telling me that when I speak it's a story, it's not really happening. I can't key into those things. It seems like, yeah, okay, it seems like my past and my future are right now, they're appearing as imagery, and yeah, they're conceptual right now. But if I go to my family and go, hey, did this happen? Was I born on this day? Did this childhood event take place? They'll go like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, cool. So it's not just me being crazy. You're corroborating this story. So it's like a shared story, at least. It's not just me going like being lost in my story. Like, duh. It's like other people are corroborating that. So, it's not just me. Seems real. Seems like it happened, and I post a lot of videos, and sometimes people comment like, "Oh, it's just a story," and I'm just like, "Yeah," because like it seems real. I don't know what to tell you, and I'm very much at the moment in a point where I'm not letting that get to me. I think if you feel like an ego, just be a fucking ego, whatever the fuck that means. I mean, if it feels like there's a future, it feels like there's a future. Like it feels like there's a future to me. There's a woman I'm quite interested in at work. I'm hoping we're gonna get together and have sex. No, I'm kidding. Whatever, just go out and stuff. Like, I genuinely like her, and she's really nice, and I'm looking forward to that, And then, but if you listen to too much fucking radical non-duality, like, no, that's wrong. Don't look forward to stuff because there's no future. So what you're looking forward to is like just a close. And I'm constantly trying to close that off. I'm trying to close the past and the future. Like, see it as they see it. It's just what's happening. It's not real. But you can't force yourself into that state of mind, And why would you want to even force yourself into a particular state of mind? It just gets so fucking trippy, man. This whole thing is just like so. My position at the moment is just fuck it, fuck that little non-duality parrot on your shoulder. Every time you go to speak, it's just like, that's just a story. That's not real. It's just like, just shoot that parrot, because otherwise it'll drive you fucking crazy, Unless you're totally drawn to it and all you're all in, and then yeah, go and listen to that, and the parrot will win and you'll die and the parrot will take over or whatever. But I think it's totally valid and totally appropriate to just go, fuck you, I'm me, you're you, I'm here, you're there, I have a past, I have a future, I am objectifying all of this, I am a subject, you're an object, go fuck yourself and live your life. Honest to God, that's how I feel, honest to God. Don't let that shit get you down, man. Again, I repeat, if you're attracted to it, then no, energetic, you'll magnetically be attracted to it. So you'll follow the magnet. Uh, but if you went too deep, and if you're in that zone where you're like in the recovery zone, and it wasn't for you, and you're trying to get your head straight, I think just leave it. It's so easily misinterpreted as nihilism. It's just so confusing. It's so, and there is a lot of concern here for people who just come across that message, because it's so confronting and those speakers, you know, and when I came across those types of speakers, I was like, I never heard anyone talk like this. You know, it's really, really confronting. It's shock to the body mind. It's a shock. And really, I don't think that people generally are ready for it. And there's a lot of just sweet people who are into, you know, meditation, like, oh, I want to do a bit of self-help, or like, oh, I'm just gonna type in spirituality, boom, and some boom, one of these radicals comes up, and you can't unsee that once you've seen it. You cannot go back, you know. Um, so I don't know. I think it's kind of harsh how this kind of these algorithms just throw up anything, and you know, I almost think like the radical message should come with trigger alerts and warnings, you know, a bit like a packet of cigarettes, you know, may cause severe damage to your mental health, you know, and enter with caution and seriously. It's, you know, it's radical. I mean, the word radical is there for a reason. um so I think it's good that these, uh, almost as an antibody to this very radical message, these kind of antibodies, these kind of buffers, these kind of groups, for traumatized individuals who've been through the ringer with the non-duality, that are popping up in order to help people come back to themselves, you know. And I think that's totally valid. Just come back to your body, come back. This is me. This is safe. This is who I am. This is my body, and it's a beautiful one. Keep it healthy, keep it fit. It is the source of your intuition. It speaks to you. It's you know, come back, come back, come back. If you're getting too up there and you're not enjoying it, nothing wrong with coming back, saying fuck you, not right now. I'll just be a self. Thank you very much. I'm quite happy with that. And that's all good, man. That's all good. It's the way we've been doing it for a long time. It's fine. It's fine. Right. That's probably it. Good night.